It is the Doomsday Podcast, and Ed Werder and Matt Mosley. We've made it back to. We're not sharing a hotel room. Ed
Just a
begged
couch.
for that to happen. No, we are on a couch though in my room, if we want to be exact about this. And we are sharing you. This is our first official. We got into town. We had dinner. We had a nice time. Visited with some associates. But today we got down to business, and so it was Schottenheimer. It were interviews, which one of them we're going to share with you. And Ed, I'm excited, and we'll introduce this in a minute. But I mean, we're going to have George Pickens on, and I just thought you and I always have to. Some of these things we kind of plan. Some of these things you have to basically just get these guys as they're coming off the field. And I would say our batting average over the years has been a lot higher than anybody in the Rangers lineup.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's, sometimes a challenge to get these guys and get any kind of exclusivity, but we were able to get George Pickens coming off the field. He's very accommodating, very willing. I think we spent 5-7 minutes with him and nobody interrupted us. And he talked about his first experience in Cowboys camp, his expectations for what he and CeeDee Lamb will do this year, what it's like now to play with an established quarterback instead of, I think the Steelers changed starting quarterbacks every year that he was there. And he's been a prolific player, and the impact he's confident that he's going to have in this offense.
Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, I'm glad.
I got some great numbers, by the way.
Share that with you. Yeah, oh, good. I'm ready to dig into that. We got the Z-Man with us, Zach Burke, back at the mothership at Rogue Media Network. It is the Doomsday Podcast, doing road work. And Zach, at this time, I would like to ask you to please play the music. All right, and there it is. And Ed, I would say, and we'll get right to this. And if you want to use some numbers to get us into this, George Pickens is he's number 2 receiver for the Cowboys, but it almost seems like he's kind of 1B or whatever you want to say. CeeDee's obviously the best receiver on this team, but George Pickens has come in, and quite honestly, this is the best duo they've had since Amari was the veteran and CD was the young guy. And that was a good pairing. That was a good duo. Remember what the Cowboys had to do to get that, though? They had to give them a first-round pick to try to save a season. They were so bad at wide receiver.
Yeah.
And even, isn't it interesting to watch, Ed, before we get to Pickens, I had this thought that's just occurred to me, that having a guy like Pickens it allows guys like Jalen Brooks and Tolbert and Jonathan Mingo, who we saw today, and he's apparently had a pretty good camp. He's a former pretty high pick, wasn't he?
Mingo?
Yeah.
It was a second-round pick, and the Cowboys gave up a fourth for him.
So, but I just think having 2 really established good receivers takes the pressure off some of those guys. And we actually saw it today. I mean, Jalen Brooks made a beautiful catch, probably the catch of the day.
Jalen Tolbert, a nice grab as well. And
yes.
And the kid from Oregon, the rookie from Oregon, Holden, made several nice plays, Holden, including a tight window throw from Milton, Joe Milton, in the back of the end zone for what would have been a touchdown inside the red zone, where the Cowboys need all kinds of help. Only the Giants were worse last year in the red zone than the Cowboys.
Yeah, good for the Giants. Thank God for the Giants.
But yeah, I mean, let's just remind everybody that when they acquired George Pickens, it was Pickens and a 6th-round pick in 2027 for a 2026 3rd-round pick and a 2027 5th-round pick. So they didn't give up anything for this year. And I think the point you made is a good one, and I kind of made this similar observation in that it's just amazing the effect at that position when everybody is rostered where they should be. You have a legitimate superstar number 1 in CeeDee Lamb. You have a George Pickens now who's a legitimate, proven number 2 player. And then Jalen Tolbert, he's an accomplished 3. I mean, when everybody's in their right position, it just makes the position so much better. And too many times, for all Dak has accomplished as a passer in this league, including 2 years ago finishing second in the MVP voting and setting almost every franchise passing record. He hasn't won in the postseason like people expect, and he wants. But he's been a prolific passer, and all too often, I feel like the front office has forced him to begin seasons without adequate players at the wide receiver position. Now, the thing that makes the Pickens acquisition interesting to me is now you've got these two outstanding receivers. And when Mike McCarthy had that, it made sense. He plays the game through the quarterback. He wants to throw the football as often as possible. But here's Brian Schottenheimer, a first-time offensive head coach, calling the plays, and he wants to establish a more balanced offense. He wants to run the football and be physical up front. You hope they're not going to do that at the expense of creating the vertical plays. He talked about explosive plays missing from this offense. Well, where does George Pickens factor into that? He averages 16.3 yards per reception in his career. That ranks first among 44 players who have 2,000 career receiving yards the last 3 seasons. George Pickens is first, A.J. Brown of the Eagles is second, and Brandon Ayuk is third. So that's the kind of impact he can have. And we talked to him about how he can expect to be used differently in this offense. He's talked about different opportunities running the entire route tree rather than just go routes all the time, which are low percentage. He's one of the best players in football in contested catches and tight windows throws. And Dak is great at that too. He's exceptional in that regard too. Yeah. So they seem a perfect match. It'll be interesting to see, how things evolve during the season. But I think it'll be interesting as Schottenheimer, goes through the process of creating the identity of this offense. He's talked about wanting to be physical and run first, Dak under center, but there's going to be an opportunity, I think, with these two receivers. I mean, CeeDee Lamb's talked about it's night and day trying to get open now. The coverage he sees.
And he looked good today, and they were both making plays. And I tell you, I've never seen a player agree with Ed as quickly as when Ed brought up the lousy quarterback play in the Steelers. So let's let you hear. It's another Doomsday exclusive. We're on the ground. We appreciate Rogue Media Network for sending us. And so we try to reward Rogue Ed by landing big-time guests. And today we grabbed a couple. We grabbed the starting cornerback that we'll talk about maybe in the coming days. But right now.
Kyer Elam? Yes. Or did we not want to reveal that?
Yes. Don't.
It could be Deron Bland or Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah, it could be anybody. But you've already.
Could be Kyer Elam.
It could be Kyer Elam, who's had several interceptions. It is now time to hear our interview with George Pickens. Doomsday Podcast with George Pickens here after practice, and been great to see you. And first Cowboys camp, how's it going so far?
It's been going good, man. Can't complain. The weather's great out here. Guys been connecting on and off the field, so it's been great, bro.
What were your first thoughts when you heard about the trade and that Dallas was where you were headed?
Oh, I really couldn't it happened so fast. Trades happen so fast. You get traded, and the next day you meet with the owners at the next organization. So you really had no time to think. But as of now, as I look back and I had time to think, I just feel like it was the best decision, honestly.
You've had so much quarterback instability and still produce at a high level. What's it like to think about having Dak Prescott healthy for a whole season?
It's a dream, bro. For me, like you said, I've always had inconsistent QB. So right now it's a dream for me. And then when I do it out here with the guys, I can feel it different. I feel myself more time in balls. At other places you have to wait on the ball. DBs are doing that. He gets sacked. So more time in balls. So I definitely know this place for me,
The other interesting thing to me is you're going from one of the most established, respected head coaches in the history of football, Mike Tomlin, to an offensive-minded head coach who's getting his first opportunity. What's that transition like?
It's really been different, just from the two different people. As far as us playing football and then him coaching, really much none, because football is always going to be the same. But from the two people, Shotty's very more energetic. And then kind of like you said, Coach T is just, his legacy lives. So kind of, we just kind of listen and hone in on whatever he has to say.
Do you stay in touch with any of your buddies from there, or do you just kind of focus on your own thing?
I kind of focus on my own thing now. I still talk to a few guys like Calvin that came in with me, same draft class, stuff like that. But besides that, no, I really just kind of on the Cowboys way now.
What do you like most about this offense?
Really the Q and the receivers that we have, just not me and C, but the group of receivers. You know, you come every day in the receiver room, that's where you want to be every day, like you work a job. That's where you guys meet most of the time. And the receivers here are great. They all work hard. It makes you better. So, yeah.
You've demonstrated that you're one of the best in the NFL at contested catches, making the vertical play. What opportunities do you see for yourself in this offense that maybe you haven't had that often in Pittsburgh?
A little bit of the same as far as what happened in Pittsburgh, like you said, vertical thread, and then making contested catches downfield. But another part of it that I feel like that I'll open up here is, you know, shorter routes that seek me up open. You know what I mean? End cuts that break into the middle, no one's in the middle of the field. Corner routes that are no one's in the back half. You see what I mean? So definitely a better procedural routes.
All right, and getting to practice against the Rams, how fun will that be to go up against some guys? And have you taken a peek at like their secondary and some of the people you'll be going up against?
Not much. I figured that the Rams, you know, probably have the same guys, you know what I mean, or some of the same guys coming off of injury and stuff like that. But no, I haven't really been looking. I know we have a dynamic group here, and that's kind of something I never felt. So you kind of never even look at the next team. When you have a dynamic group that's so dynamic, you're focused on yourself. You're like, oh yeah, we can do this.
Can you describe your relationship with CD and how he helped you comfortably make the transition to this new?
Yeah. CD's like my brother. Like, first he's the first player. That's another thing about the trade. He's the first player that I called after the trade, and then I talked to Dak and then the owners, of course. But me and CD, we go way back. We worked out years ago when I was in high school, and he's still the same person. So, super cool guy.
What are you guys capable of as a tandem, do you think?
I feel like we're capable of a lot because I'm a different type of receiver than, you know, that has ever paired up with another receiver. CD is his own, you know, he's his own deal. He makes crazy catches, run after catch. Plus me, you know, I'm a little bit the same, just a bigger body. So, yeah.
Jerry hadn't tried to negotiate with you any one-on-one, has he?
No, he hasn't. He definitely hasn't. He definitely hasn't. I wish.
What are you thinking about that? You're on the last year of your contract.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable playing it out and seeing what your value is here and elsewhere after the season?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I especially want to, you know, I'm more of a football-oriented guy too, but I definitely want, you know, would love to get a incline in, you know, in my currency. But like, as long as the Cowboys and, you know, us trying to win a Super Bowl, and that's why I said I'm kind of locked in on the Cowboys' way. You know what I mean?
What do you think is the biggest misconception about you?
Just kind of what the other, you know, certain media groups portray. Like, you guys work for a media team, but you guys are two different people. You guys have you like different things. So certain media groups, you know, can portray a certain thing, but like once you meet me, then it's all. So I don't really take any grain from it. I know they're just doing a job.
Do you have personal goals for like the levels you want to hit, yards, touchdowns? Do you write all that stuff down?
Yeah, I want to do like maybe 1,200. I did 1,100 with 3 different QBs, so 1,200, and you feel me, at most. Touchdowns, Super Bowl too. I want you see what I mean? I want you guys back here doing this, but at the Super Bowl. You see what I mean? So yeah, Super Bowl, and definitely a lot of yards for Dak and CD.
George, thanks very much for being our guest.
I appreciate you guys, man.
Look forward to seeing you play.
Do you know what the Doomsday Pot? You know what the Doomsday? You know what that is? It's the nickname for the Cowboys' famous defense of the '70s. Yeah.
Super Bowl defense. Yeah. When I heard you say that, I was like, Doomsday.
Yeah.
But I never thought back that far.
It could also be for opposing cornerbacks this year.
Yeah, I used to actually have some cleats by the name of Doomsday. Yeah.
Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Good to visit with you. Thanks, George. All right, and there he was, and it was kind of fun at the end, Ed, where you know, I always find myself wanting to see if some of these young players, what they know about Doomsday, if they know that. And interestingly, he said he had some cleats that were called Doomsday cleats or something, and you
wrote it on there.
Yeah, you were really buttering them up. You said something like, "It's going to be Doomsday
opposing
for
corner
opposing."
Could take on a different media.
Yeah.
Mean Doomsday for opposing cornerbacks with what you and CeeDee Lamb might be capable of. And to that point, another stat, I mean, I think we have high regard, high value for context and statistical information.
I mean, yeah.
Listen, how about this? In the last 2 seasons, CeeDee Lamb has 236 catches for 2,943 yards. All other Cowboy receivers in that span have 261 receptions, 3,148 yards. Lamb's accounted for 48% of Dallas's receiving yards the last 2 seasons. Last year, Lamb had 1,688 more yards than the next closest Cowboy players. In fact, in the last 2 years. And that player's not even a wide receiver. It's Jake Ferguson. That's the biggest difference between a team's top 2 players in receiving yards in the entire NFL. So you talk about bolstering CeeDee Lamb's production, making it easier for Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb to function and create big plays and scoring points. I think George Pickens, if he's healthy, is going to do that. I thought the other interesting part of it is, Schottenheimer wants to have a very disciplined team. He's made that clear with the way he interrupted practice when there was fighting, and he made him run in a very old school Marty Schottenheimer kind of way. And yet Pickens, that's one of the deficiencies with Pickens is doesn't always have emotional control. And he's one of the most penalized receivers in the NFL. We can ask Jordan Lewis about that. He's slung Lewis to the ground by his face mask in the game last year. That being said, so he could be a challenge for a first-time head coach like Schottenheimer, who wants to be a disciplinarian and wants his team to play under control football and eliminate the penalties. They were the most penalized team in the league the last 5 years under Mike McCarthy. So that if they're going to change that identity, Pickens has to be able to manage his emotions in a far more effective manner. But to me, the Cowboys were in a position where they just had to take that risk. Like there's a lot of people that'll tell you George Pickens is not essential to is not a winning football player. And that's the behavior that they cite. It's detrimental to a team. But if he can control that and he can be, maybe he'll be more content in the offense. Maybe he won't be so high strung, but it's all favorably for this to work.
Well, he's an affable, easygoing dude, and we enjoyed our time with him. And then we'll have more interviews to come for sure. I wanted to, Ed, I think since we just arrived and since this was our first practice, and tomorrow's going to be that joint practice, and that was a big reason why we came during this time with the Rams, I wanted to give a Micah Parsons update. And for once, Ed, I don't know why, but I decided I think I'll head out early to practice. And it kind of paid off because I see Micah arrive and he's kind of strolling out there right about the same time I did, which everybody else was already out there. The players, I should say, not the media. And he's in I can't remember the brand, but he just had some kind of pullover. And we'd already had that conversation with Schottenheimer earlier in the day about that Saturday for the first time he didn't wear
the day after Jerry.
Yeah, the day
after his trade request.
He didn't wear his jersey to practice. And Shotty made it clear today that, hey, wasn't a big deal, but I do prefer that everybody be in team gear.
Everybody looked the same.
Everybody looked the same. By the way, Trayvon Diggs was not in his jersey today.
He was when he came back out.
Oh, he did come back out. Well, anyway, I looked over there and saw him. But Micah had a conversation with the guy they call Cable, who's part of the ops crew.
Cable Johnson.
Cable Johnson.
He's a security guy primarily.
And I guess they call him Cable because it's his name. I don't know. I just always thought it was like a nickname or something. But he's a security guy, but ops, all that kind of stuff. And I saw him have the conversation with Micah, and then suddenly Micah was in his jersey. So I think they may impressed upon him. I don't think you can have these other brands out there that aren't NFL as part of it. And they would like to see him in his jersey. And so he's out there. I mean, the whole thing's kind of awkward because I think Jerry thinks it's all a game. And Jerry's been kind of having fun with this, honestly. And with all we know, it's coming up.
This is a made-for-TV negotiation.
Yeah, and it's about to be.
Jerry's got a documentary with Netflix to promote.
That he's in, by the way.
And he's got a contract with a superstar player that he needs to negotiate. And to Jerry, that creates an opportunity to create buzz, to make himself a central figure in the Cowboys off-season, preseason training camp. And who knows how far this will go. But Schottenheimer, he made it clear he does believe that this will be resolved in some way, and he's expecting Micah Parsons to be on the field week 1 in Philadelphia, which makes all kinds of sense because Parsons has already talked about his passion for the game. Is such that I can't see myself holding out. I can't see myself staying away, and part of that is he doesn't want to incur $50,000 daily fines. Well, what happens week 1? Like you're talking about going to Philadelphia, playing the defending Super Bowl champions, first game of the entire league season, your first paycheck at $21 million a year. There's no way Micah Parsons is going to miss that.
Or maybe he's just there in his jersey on the sideline.
But it is good. I think it is good because I think that suggests that the coach, he and the coach have the kind of relationship where, hey, do this for me. Like, I've been on your side a lot in this. I need you to do this. I need you to wear your jersey.
Yeah.
Just do that. And he acquiesced.
Okay. We saw that happen. We also got to talk to Brian Schottenheimer earlier today, and our own Ed Werder from Rogue Media Network and the Doomsday Podcast did ask a question, and thought it was a good one because Ed was trying to get at basically what are they missing with Micah not in practice. Instead of all the drama, Ed kind of brought it back to the football. What is it kind of like for the offense, the defense, the Matt Eberflus, the new coach? And so that's what Ed was getting at. So I want you to hear Ed's question and then hear Brian Schottenheimer's answer. Here is that from Monday's news conference with Brian Schottenheimer.
Regarding Micah, what's lost in terms of the value I would assume he brings in terms of taking reps against your offensive linemen, your tackles, getting to block against one of the great rushers in the league, and just him coordinating with, stunts and so forth with new teammates?
Yeah, I think the first one that jumps off the film is probably that, challenging our young tackles. And, of course, you wanted to see Guyton and Micah last year, and then Tyler had the setback. And, going up against, T. Steele or going up against Nate Thomas, that speed and all that stuff, that's part of the competition that we talk about, and so that's the first thing. In terms of the scheme fit and us moving Micah around and all that stuff, we can get those things done in walkthroughs. We can get those things done in talk through. We can emphasize those things. And, it's more selfishly for us from an offensive standpoint is not having that elite speed edge rusher coming off the corner. But Donovan's done a great job. Dante Fowler's having an incredible camp. So it's not like we're short of guys that have elite speed coming off the edge and bending corners.
All right, there it was. And also, Ed, I thought that was oh, by the way, since Ed, we've already revealed Ed's going to be in that Netflix special. I think Ed, maybe Goose Goslin, and about an 8 or 9 installment. I think it's episodes of Jerry. And I have been tipped off that Ed uses an expletive.
The guy who
won't allow
forbids
people,
it on social media, blocks people for it. I tried not to, very desperately, but I only did it in that I was quoting Jerry as best I can remember from, a night in 1994 at the NFL owners meetings. And I tried even then not to say the word, and I was encouraged, begged, implored,
cajoled
by the Netflix producers in the room to just say it.
Yeah. And so you did.
And so I did.
It's like that time.
And I'm not going to be proud when little Henry or my grandson Henry watches that and wants to know what exactly that word means.
Not safe for work, folks. And I think the letters are MF, perhaps. And you tried to say MF, right? And they just wouldn't leave you alone about it. So anyway, that'll happen. And that comes out, I believe, the 18th or 19th.
And the premiere is next week out here in LA.
Oh, yeah. Which you've been invited to.
I've been invited to. And I'm 65. I've never been to a Hollywood premiere and feel like this is a once in a lifetime chance. Like if it took 65 years to get the first invite.
Yeah.
I can't be 130 and expect.
We would want you to do Doomsday from the red carpet. I think
the red carpet's one of the reasons I don't want to go.
You should not tell Jerry you're thinking about coming. That'd be hilarious if he was
see
there.
If he would want me there bad enough?
I could just see.
Oh, no, I want me to surprise
I just want you to surprise Jerry because I think that'd be kind of funny.
Well, Jerry and I are, ironically enough, we've obviously had our moments and so forth, and some really bad ones, and a few good ones. But it was ironic to me that we were honored at the Pro Football Hall of Fame the same year. Like he got enshrined in 2017. It was the same year that I won, the award for media. And so that was kind of ironic, but he invited me to his party and, all that. And, even though he's also at times wanted to strip me of my credentials.
Yeah. Yeah. But the woman who, Mary Kay Cabot from Cleveland Plain Dealer, many years, longtime Browns beat writer. She was enshrined at the McCann Award, I believe, something very similar to what you got, or the exact same thing. And she used the opportunity to take a shot at Bill Belichick. I thought it was a good line.
More Bill Belichick's girlfriend.
She had a funny
Who
line.
took exception to it.
I know. She disliked it, or I think she retweeted somebody else.
I took no shots at Jerry in my speech.
Yeah, well, the joke she made was something like because I guess he was really rough on her as a young head coach, and she said she was 28 at the time, so she was like, he was not used to dealing with an older woman. He didn't know how to deal with
28-year-old women.
28, yeah. Something. It was a good line. Mary Kay, congratulations to you as you watch the Doomsday podcast.
You know what? I was interested coming off that interview or that question I asked Brian Schottenheimer that he took it from the offensive perspective in the way that he did. Mm-hmm. And when he started to talk about Tyler Guyton, last year didn't get any reps against him because, he was injured. Well, here we are again. Tyler Guyton now missing an extensive amount of practice. That's even if he's healthy enough for the early part of the season in week 1, are you going to want to put him out there, against the Eagles and that defensive front? I mean, that's the identity of that football team is that defensive front. And, a lot of opportunities are being missed by offensive linemen not having the opportunity to go against Micah Parsons. But Jared Verse, the defensive rookie of the year and an exceptional pass rusher for the Rams, will give them that opportunity tomorrow, but they just don't get it every day.
No.
Every day Micah Parsons misses is an opportunity that these guys lose to improve themselves and measure themselves against that level of player.
And I did want to, I took some notes today for our first practice here, and there's a couple players out, but the guy stepping in at left tackle is Nate
Thomas.
Is it Nate Thomas, number 71? He's been playing. They used to have
Thomas.
Yeah, Nate Thomas. Yeah, good.
Second-year player from Louisiana, got hurt last year.
Yeah.
Played guard. They bounced him outside the left tackle.
Man, I got to say, I was watching like Williams and Fowler and some of those guys go up against him, and he's moving really well. But you're right, Jared Verse will be a nice. That'll be a nice matchup. Real quick, I just wanted to bring up a few things I saw in practice today. And Ed, if there's anything that stood out to you, I thought that was interesting that we saw a little bit of 7-on-7. Somebody told me that was the second time really they've had 7-on-7 because that Schottenheimer just thinks it's not really realistic because you don't have the big guys in there. You can see so easily. It's too easy for the quarterbacks. And so they don't do it very often. So it's mostly 11-on-11, which is a fun practice to watch because they're not constantly taking breaks from it. I mean, you're seeing a lot of team drills is what we call that, 11-on-11. I thought Jalen Brooks, number 83, he'll be in the, obviously the guys that can play special teams are going to be the ones that hold on to roster spots. He made a gorgeous catch. I think McQuamu was trying to cover him, and he went up and snatched the ball. I think that was very nice. And then you mentioned Jalen Tolbert had that nice deep ball from Dak over on the sideline. He made a great adjustment to it. Tyus Wheat, big defensive lineman, went in there and knocked down a ball.
He also had an opportunity for an interception on a turnaround blind screen, smoke screen that Milton threw right to him, but he didn't catch it. But, again, they're like, well, that guy probably is supposed to be cut in a game. Like you block that guy. Yeah. And so he's not there. He's eliminated.
Yeah. I thought he looked good. Javonte Williams was probably your starting running back right now. We saw a little bit of the Jaden Blue from the University of Texas, and he's obviously got a little wiggle to him. He's got some good speed, a little burst. And then I thought another, we talked about Kyer Elam's really had a great camp, and we'll have interview with him coming up tomorrow. But Kamon Hall, number 43, is playing cornerback, and on I think it's Joe Milton pass, he jumped up and had a great pass breakup.
I think he's getting some reps at corner when Ron Bland moves inside.
Okay.
He's a former Chargers player, joined the Cowboys late last season, did really impress. I think they started 9 different corners last year, and he got some playing time, but he's been far more impressive this camp and in this scheme, like Elam, than he was with his previous team.
All right, and just a couple more from me. Josh Kelly had a drop. He's from Texas Tech. And that was a rough drop. You can't, a guy that's just barely trying to hang in there and make the roster. You can't do that. And then Princeton Fant had a great catch. The tight end, who's also a really good special teams player, made a one-handed grab that really stood out to me. But those were a couple of things. I thought the quarterbacks were fine. Joe Milton is an extremely imposing looking guy. Like he's a
bigger guy than I thought he
was.
was.
Yeah. And he's obviously got a great arm. I mean, we'll see if he can kind of harness that and where his future is. I would just say, I'm not saying he's better than Cooper Rush. I would just say it's a more exciting option because you look at him and then you watch him throw a pass. I mean, he's got NFL starting caliber arm. I just don't know if it'll all come together for him.
Yeah, well, it was interesting, and I think like opportunities to go against an unknown opponent, like the Rams tomorrow, and then play these preseason games. I don't know if they're going to give him as many opportunities as they gave Trey Lance last year. You know, Mike McCarthy allowed Lance so many opportunities. He led the entire league in the preseason in both passing and rushing yards among any player, not just quarterbacks. I don't know if he's going to get that kind of opportunity, but they do need to see, you know, how he can manage a game and how he fits into this style of play. Obviously played really well against Buffalo at the end of the season when he started for the Patriots. He was obviously blocked there by Drake May being, you know, the #1 draft pick in the same year that he came into the league. Big disadvantage. Didn't stop Kirk Cousins, I guess, from when RG3 and he came in together. But I think you want to see how he manages the game. And one of the things Schottenheimer talked about today with him was, hey, he does a really good job, you know, going to his 1 or his 2. But if those guys aren't open, he needs to locate, you know, the next receiver more quickly. And in that capacity, while we talked about the great ball he threw in the back of the end zone, tight window throw for a touchdown today, there was also a play in the red zone where he missed the back coming out of the backfield, you know, and that just can't happen. Or you're going to struggle in the red zone. But I thought that was interesting. And something to watch, you know, as the preseason games begin this weekend with the Cowboys playing the Rams, in addition to practicing against them. The other thing I thought was interesting was that Schottenheimer was talking about what he wants to see in this practice tomorrow. And he said he doesn't expect it to be any more intense. He doesn't expect his players to be more intense than they were today on the field, because if he finds that to be the case, then he's not getting it all out of them in the practices, and that's what he wants. So he doesn't think the games and the practices should be any different from an intensity point of view.
Yeah, and in fact, to the point, he said that he thought about not doing this, and he and Coach McVay, who we both know and have known over the years, have worked this thing out. They're going to talk again tonight. As we're taping this on Monday evening Pacific time, and we're going to be sharing this with you later this evening. But we'll have much more, Ed, as we, you know, so far we've had one excellent Italian meal. We had another meal at Santa Monica. We did find, I think Rogue Media Network will be happy to find today, I scored us a free Mediterranean type meal at the facility over at Cowboys. Okay.
So we're trying to keep expenses down?
We're not abusing the the card.
I would never do that.
I don't know. I've seen some of your expenses over the years.
Well, it doesn't help when I have to pay for your meal.
Well, it's true, but we're all in this together, Ed. All right, tomorrow we're in the next 48 hours. We're hoping to sit down with Stephen Jones. You'll hear from Kyer Elam, and there'll be plenty more. We're hoping to we'll at least try at some point to visit with Shotty. Ed's known him for a long time, and we've actually had him on the Doomsday pod. He was just at the time
play calling offensive coordinator.
He was the non-play call. Yes. So, but
Mike McCarthy had both of those jobs then. Now Shotty's got them both. So we're interested in another sit down.
Well, we are. We want to speak to a savant, as he labeled himself today. Of course, Pete Carroll's words, he said, but that he did say of himself that I was.
It's not that I'm saying I'm a savant. Pete Carroll, who's one of the most accomplished coaches in football at the college and pro level and a Super Bowl, he called me a savant. Yeah,
he said, Shotty, you're a football savant. Okay. Something I don't know if anybody's ever said about the two of us, but good to be with you. It is the Doomsday Podcast.
I'll call you a savant if you call me one.
I'm happy to. Rest of this trip, at least. It's the Doomsday Podcast from Oxnard, California. I know we hang out in different places here, but yeah, Oxnard, California. Happy to be with you. Thanks to Z. Thanks to Corey. Thanks to the whole staff at Rogue Media Network. It is the Doomsday Podcast. We will see you again soon.
We are Rogue Media Sports.